congratulations becoming a centurion, 100 games for Bristol. So what so far has been your highlights?
Thank you very much. There have been so many highlights, to be honest. I think when I look back at the games that have been the most special, they've always been derbies. And we've had a fairly good record as well, against Gloucester and Bath especially. So they've been special. But I think the one moment is probably my debut, my first game for Bristol. That's a memory in my head that will stick with me forever, I think. So yeah.
Mine, I was lucky enough to have played in 3 cup finals. The first one we won against Leicester, which we were the underdog at the time, and that was incredible. The following year, sadly, we lost to one of our locals, Bath, by 3 points. And then my final game for the club was against Harlequins at Twickenham for the cup, and we sadly lost that one as well. But great memories, and 83 particularly.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, we obviously had the semi-final against Bath last year, which was obviously we were on the wrong side of. But I think the big games and the ones that mean the most always stick in the memory, regardless of the result, probably.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So and they live with you. I think your debut, your first game as captain. I think we alluded to that earlier when we were talking. They stay with you, and then 100 games was also very special. It was funny because we were talking earlier that you've been with Bristol now for 6 years, and I got my 100th just after the end of the second year or beginning of the third year.
Yeah.
It just shows you the amount of difference and the amount of games we played.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine trying to play 50 games this season. I think I've probably averaged about 25, and that has been plenty.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah. No,
the physicality these days is so much more.
Yeah, it's a different game now.
It's a game I'm not familiar with.
Yeah. So when you were captain, what do you think? What did you learn from that experience? And
well, I was lucky enough to be under quite a few captains, as we all do, but we always had 2-year stints, and I took a little bit from everybody, and I think the thing I had to work on was being honest with everybody, because the thing is, being captain, you picked the side, and you were responsible for everything that went on at the club, basically. Yeah. And so if you dropped somebody, you had to pick the phone up before anybody else told them. You had to have a frank conversation with them. I think over the 2 years they appreciate that, but of course they don't at that moment in time. But I think it was appreciated, the fact that I was honest with people and tried to lead from the front wherever I could.
Yeah, because I think that's probably been the thing for me as well. Like, being authentic, like authenticity, I think that was always the thing in my head that I was conscious of when Pat spoke to me and wanted me to take up the role. And obviously it's a bit different nowadays, like I don't pick the team, but I think your relationships with players and with coaches, it's really important to be authentic, be yourself. And I think it, like, leading from the front and sort of trying to lead by example, like, ties into that well, because...
Well, I watched you whenever you play at home, and you certainly lead from the front. And so you're a good leader from that point of view. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
I guess now in the professional era, you it's not to you to make the decisions either. I guess that with the technology now, the water boy comes on and says cricket or do this or do that.
Yeah, and I think like I'm really blessed, because I'm sure it was the same with you, but I at the moment I've got 5 or 6 players in the squad who have massive roles in terms of their leadership. And so when I think about captaincy and how to get the most out of captaincy, a lot of it is about leaning on others and knowing when to use my voice. And one of the things that I'm lucky to have is a lot of captains a lot of leaders who are very different in the squad. So I've got Stephen Luatua, who he's captained the side for a long time and leads by example in a similar way to I do, but he's not massive with his voice. And then you've got Ellis Genge and AJ McGinty and Harry Randall, guys who are great speakers as well as sort of leading by example. So it's hard sometimes to find a balance between taking ownership and responsibility for the team, but also letting others sort of have their moment as well and lead that.
You sound as though you've got it all sorted.
Well, it's easier to say, harder to do, I think. But yeah.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying the task.
Yeah.
I love watching you. I think you're one of the most exciting sides. And I did mention to you earlier, but you worry me to death in the last 10 minutes of every game. You're going to be 20 or 30 points up, and I'm still not comfortable.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a big part of the growth for us, and I think there's a reason we haven't won the Premiership yet, and it's because we're not yet the side that we want to be. We're not the side we feel we can be. So that's what we've spent this pre-season working on. At the end of the day, it's all fine being an exciting team to watch and an exciting team to play in as well, but
we need to be able to close the game out.
Yeah, exactly. We're not here to. I mean, inspiring our community is a big part of who we are, but we want to win things, and I think with that comes a demand for, like you said, being able to close the game out and having control in key moments. So, Nigel, if there was one sort of piece of advice as a captain or as a Bristol player that you could give me, what would it be? More of the same.
I think you're leading from the front, and I think that's the best possible way you're going to get the people to respond and to help. You keep driving them, and your enthusiasm, having met you only just briefly, is incredible. If you can put that enthusiasm through the side, and just keep taking that ball forward, leading the way, I think you've got it sorted.
Thank you.
What the club means to me is, it was a big part of my life. I started playing for Bristol when I was 16, and I was a bit of a lump in those days. I'm a bit shorter now and a bit lighter, but it meant everything. My whole life revolved around rugby.
I think for me, like, Bristol has meant something quite unique in a sense that, like, I obviously didn't grow up in Bristol, so like the first time I came to Bristol I was 21 years old, and it was to play rugby, and when I look back now, I can't really remember a time where Bristol wasn't central to my life in rugby, and the relationship that I feel like I have personally to the city now is something really special, something that I hold really dear, and I think probably the thing that sticks in my head is, like, when I look at even pictures from when I first joined and stuff, the relationships that I made with Bristolians and with people from all around the world is really special. And like you said, like, for the last 6 years of my life, rugby in Bristol has been, it's meant everything to me, and it's. I
was very lucky because when we were playing for Bristol, there were times when 13 or sometimes 14 of the players were Bristolian.
Yeah.
And you played so much for each other, and that's half the gift which you've got to have, because in your leadership you've got to try and gel and get that sort of bond and that spirit. I know people use the family, but it is very much, if you play together, you will reap the benefits.
Yeah, and I think that's something as well that I've always been able to appreciate. Is something that Pat's super focused on, is having Bristolians in the squad, and I think that's why when you asked me what my best memories were, they were derby games, because of the relationship that the Bristolians in the side had with that game and the associations of that game. And when I speak about the derby now and the memories I think of it, I feel like a Bristolian. Like it means so much to not just the squad but the city as well. So
absolutely, just keep beating Bath and Gloucester. We'll be very happy. Supporting group.
Brilliant.